The year was 1894, and I was living in fashionable Chelsea's Tide Street when I decided to take my family for a seaside holiday, as a fashionable person would do. You Americans may not be familiar with the Victorian mode of fashion. Why, in Britain, fashion is tied to civility. America is the only nation which went from barbarism to decadence, without civilization in between. Fashion is a form of ugliness so intolerable that we have to alter it every 6 months. Take my own appearance, for example, on my tours to the Americas. When I first arrived in 1882, I opted to wear classical attire rather than my knee breeches. How terribly disappointed they were when they were expecting Oscar Wilde and got me. Are not you Oscar Wilde, you ask? Yes, but I am your Oscar Wilde and their Oscar Wilde. Illusion is the first of all pleasures. Most people are other people. Their thoughts are someone else's thoughts. Their lives are mimicry. Their passions are quotation. I say be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. But because of the terrible shock of my pedestrian appearance on my first visit, I've since arrived on your shore as I am now, in most conventional attire, to satisfy you. The first duty in life is to strike a pose. The second duty, no one yet has found out. Sometimes I'm so clever that I don't even know a word that I am saying. My seaside holiday. It was there where I began to conceive the ideas of the importance of being earnest, and commenced writing it. I find farcical comedy admirable for style, but fatal to handwriting. I decided upon a comedy that lampooned the truths of Victorian society by centering the action around 2 men living a lie. The secret of life is to appreciate the pleasure of being terribly, terribly deceived. You, sir, you look as though you disagree. To disagree with 3/4 of the British public is the first requisite of sanity. Whenever people agree with me, I think I must be wrong. But to examine truth, you must treat truth and deception as a double-edged sword. Give a man a mask, and he will tell you the truth. If you want to tell people the truth, make them laugh. Otherwise, they'll kill you. One can survive everything nowadays, except death, and live down anything except a good reputation. I suppose the only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about. But interestingly enough, everyone is still talking about the importance of being earnest, and esteems of Victorian morality and class, and the pursuit of truth in a deceptive world. Why do we seek truth? A little sincerity is a dangerous thing, but a great deal of it is absolutely fatal. Just my advice. There's no such good thing to do with good advice than to pass it on. It's never any use to oneself. Next, there is the theme of class. Class involves money. There are only 2 tragedies in life. One is not getting what one wants. The other is getting it. When I was young, I thought that money was the most important thing in life. Now that I am old, I know that it is. Genius is born, not paid. Shakespeare tells us that all the world's a stage. The world is a stage, but the play is badly cast. I think that God, in creating man, somewhat overestimated his ability. There are only 2 kinds of people who are truly fascinating. Those who know everything and those who know nothing. Both are a pleasure at the dinner table. The world is a stage. Life and literature. Life in the perfect expression of life. The principles of the former, as laid down by the Greeks, we may not realize in an age so marred by false ideals as our own. The principles of the latter, as they laid them down, are in many cases so subtle that we can hardly understand them. Recognizing that the most perfect art is that which most fully mirrors man in all his infinite variety, they elaborated the criticism of language, considered in the light of mere material of that art, to a point to which we, with our accentual system of reasonable or emotional emphasis, can barely, if at all, attain. But one can dream. Yes, I am a dreamer. For a dreamer is one who can only find his way by moonlight, and his punishment is that he sees the dawn before the rest of the world. So now, I will step aside to allow you to dream the importance of being earnest.